Hi, I'm Patrick. This is Brian Kline. And Lloyd, what's your last name?
My last name is Kochinka.
Kochinka. And that's Brian Fiore. You know that guy. We're just got played. Tonight we're at Cloak and Blast and we're playing the game Emergence. Join us for Emergence. Brian Fiore, please tell us a little bit about Emergence.
Sure. Emergence is a 3 to 6 player social deduction / programmed movement / simultaneous action and economic resource game with a little bit of worker placement element thrown in there too. Basically, in Emergence, the theme is kind of set like almost like the people versus the robots, or kind of like a Matrix or a Skynet kind of Terminator. It has a Terminator feel to it, and to start off with, basically, like a lot of social deduction games, there's a series of cards that are dealt out to players, and that determines who's on what team. There's going to be the humans, and then there's going to be the AI. And the humans are going to know who each other is, but the AI is not. Once that is dealt with, you then move into what the simultaneous actions to be played are, and the program movements. And so you have basically 6 different actions in which are going to be simultaneously done by each of the players. So you can activate. So everybody's going to always get to move. So you get one move. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to either activate the tile that you're in, which basically is collecting the data, or activating or being able to trade your data blocks in for discs, or being able to trade your discs in to the secret ballot box for points in a bidding system. So that's all under activate. If you choose to replenish, it means you'll be putting more data cubes on top of the hexes. If you choose to boost, you get a secondary movement. And then there's other kinds of attacks. So you can either spy if you happen to be in the same hex as another player, which means you get to look at their character card to determine whether or not they are in fact a human or an AI character. You can also hack them, which costs you 1 disc, and then you also you basically get to take all of their data cubes into your pile. And the final thing you can do is you can terminate them if they happen to be in an adjacent tile, and in that case you'll pay 3 discs, and you'll get to take all of their data discs and their data cubes as well. But the good thing is it's not like there's any player elimination, so their character then, once terminated, is just put back to the start position in the center of the board, and then they can start collecting their resources over again. So that's a simultaneous action bid and all the different program movements that there are. Another part of that, though, is whether or not you're going to be doing the biomechanical, or what was the other thing, the electrical augmentation. I think this is your augmentation marker. So this kind of helps into whenever you move into a hex, you're going to determine if you've got basically the green side up, you're going to be able to actually replenish that tile or to collect the data that's there. You can end up using it to block other players because they can't move into your tile that you're occupying unless they have the same color augmentation as you do. So sometimes you can set it up like as a block. And it also works for defensive purposes as well, for attacking. Like generally, anytime you attack another player, they're going to have the opposite augmentation from you. So there's some of that type of planning as well. It adds a whole extra element of strategy to it. Basically, there's 2 win conditions for the game. The first one is if all of the data cubes are wiped off the board, then the humans automatically win. And the second win condition is basically the first team to reach their victory point total, which are the discs that are put into the box. And generally the humans have to get a lesser number. In our case, it was like 20, and the AI for them was like 30 points. But those numbers will be like a sliding scale depending on the total number of players. With that, Patrick, what would you say is your favorite thing about Emergence?
I really enjoyed the game. I think if I had to pick the thing I like the most, it's going to have to be all of the player options. You have those 6 different player options, and I can go grab some cubes, or I can convert my data cubes into the data discs or the knowledge discs. I think it's going to be all the player options you have, and every turn you don't get a lot of that in social deduction games normally. Mr. Brian Kline, if you had to pick one thing that you liked, what would it be?
Well, my favorite thing about this game is how unique it is. It's a very novel combination of a social deduction type game with more of a puzzly, thinky type game, where it seems like the emphasis is on determining what faction each player is a part of by what actions they're taking rather than just what they're saying. It's more than just table talk to figure out who's on what team.
Yeah, I love that part about it too. Big Bad Lloyd, what do you think, my friend?
I'm going to piggyback on what Brian said, and I like the fact that it's a social deduction game that's a little bit different. It's not just one type of action you're trying to do to figure out who each other is. There's a whole other aspect underlying the social deduction.
Yeah, I would kind of piggyback on that as well and say that there's a lot of extra replayability in there. I think the initial game that's set up, you're supposed to set up all of the hexes in a certain manner just for like the learning of it, but then you can probably set them up randomly later on. So in addition to having to, with a lot of social deduction games, you're going to have to like play with different players to get, because once you figure them out, like this guy's a liar, I know his tells and that kind of stuff, you know, the economic resources and the randomization of the board makes it a totally different game every time. So combining those elements. And then the other thing I would say that I really liked is the box. This is a pretty cool thing for voting. It's a secret ballot box, and this is Super Tuesday, so this is the second time that I get to legally vote today. Actually, I placed like 20 votes in here, so for a big score at the end. So the human candidate won in our case, which was nice. But Patrick, what would you say is the thing that you liked least about Emergence?
That's tough because I do like the game, but I guess if I have to pick one thing is that it feels a little bit abstract to me. I don't know if it's iconography or what it is exactly, but it feels a little distant. If it had a little more flavor text or if it had a little more flavor in general to it, I think I would be a little happier. So if I had to pick the one thing, it's going to be that. Mr. Brian Kline?
The one thing I didn't like about our particular playthrough is that the game felt a little bit anticlimactic, I guess, where we were playing through the game, all trying to accomplish our own goals, and then all of a sudden Brian came out of a big play pretty much out of nowhere and just kind of walked off with it. I don't know if anybody really saw it coming, so I don't know.
You have to be careful. Sometimes Brian will come out of nowhere and just climax. It happens a lot faster than you would normally think. Lloyd, if there's one thing that you didn't like about it.
I did take my time on that game, though. It was a big finish, though.
Shake it off, Lloyd.
One thing that I didn't particularly like it was the length, and it could have just been in the 5-player game. But it seemed the point totals were a bit off, just in drawing out the game. It kind of dragged in the middle, but like I said, towards the end, there was one big play and the game was over.
Big bad Brian Fiore.
The thing I like least about Emergence was, and this is a prototype version of the game, so the components and the coloration can change, but the data cubes for a couple of them, one was like a light blue and one was like a dark blue, and at one point I had like the red card, and when you put them both down, they kind of almost looked both purplish to me, so some of that was hard, but I think some of that will probably change depending on the final color choices for the game. So,
and that may change. It is a prototype, so that still could change.
Okay. But again, Emergence is coming to Kickstarter very, very soon, so make sure you jump over there and back for your copy, or maybe 2 copies, one for the humans and one for the AI guys.
It doesn't work like that. Both people, one's for humans, and the AI, it's all one game.
Well, at least get a physical copy for the humans, and then a print and play for the AI.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm Patrick. This is game designer Brian, game designer Lloyd, and Brian Fiore. Thank you very, very much for watching. You did come out of nowhere. I mean, I saw it coming, but I play with you all the time, so I know when you're gonna.
Sure, you know what to expect.
I know, yeah,
so.
Sure. Big win for Brian Fiore.
Well, thank you. Where'd you put all of your discs into? Which one of these slots in the box here?
As far as my wife's concerned, they all went in the AI.
The AI. What does that stand for anyway?
It's just not another human. That's all that's important to me.
Artificial. She's okay with that.
Yeah, she's okay if it's artificial. She's not great if it's another human being. How could you get that? I thought you were going to break that box with your huge climax in the end.
It holds more than it looks.
I think you damaged it.
It's expandable.
There's a little divider in there that kind of separates the light side from the dark side. I think you almost broke that wall down.
What kind of production is this?